Yeah, have a play around with how you might like it better.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be good.
So it's 1 o'clock. So it's
Yeah. This will be perfect. Do you have?
yeah.
You guys don't use like a mic or anything for the stream, okay? Oh, beautiful. Okay, I'll try to.
Yeah.
Who's facing that way?
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
We're just testing the audio.
So we're just testing the audio. This is the level of voice I'm going to use today. And this will be about the furthest I'll be from the camera, I think. But we might also come up a little bit closer today, and we'll use the same volume for talking. It's all good.
The audio is great for me. Thank you.
So
It
yeah.
has been freezing. That was just awesome.
Yeah, so we're just working out our tech to make sure that everyone joining us online can engage in the best way possible. We also have Auslan interpreters today, so thank you for being here and supporting our talks. All right, we're going to start now. My name is Liam Benson. I'm the creative director at We Are Studios, and I'm also one of the curators that has facilitated this exhibition called Bio. I'll be guiding and facilitating the talks today, and we'll be meeting 4 of the artists in the exhibition. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting on Darug land today. And this is a place that has a memory that goes back as far as memory exists of the language, the art, the music, relationships, family, friendships, connections, and connection to place that has existed here for thousands of years within the culture of Darug people, guided and nurtured by Darug elders. And I'd like to acknowledge their custodianship and cultural strength so that Darug culture exists here and thrives today. So sending loving respect to Darug elders of the past and present, and those emerging who will continue to carry that culture into the future. I also extend that respect to First Nation peoples who are joining us today and who are here, part of our community, our family, and are significant people within our community. Thank you also to you for joining us. And thank you, everyone that's in the room as well. We have an audience here today joining us. And we're here at PARI on Darug land, which is in Parramatta. And huge thanks to PARI for having us exhibit here. We Are Studios is a 100% disability-run initiative for artists with disability. And we really value and love working with PARI because it is also an artist-run initiative based in Western Sydney. We really love that PARI is run by artists and it's for artists, and that artists' voices are at the centre of everything that happens here at PARI. So huge thanks to all the PARI directors and community that have been involved in creating and nurturing this space so that it exists here in Western Sydney. It's really valuable. Yeah, and as you know, We Are Studios, this is really valuable for us because we are also an artist studio that supports artists and it's run by artists. It's for people with disability, by people with disability, which is also at our core. As part of that acknowledgement, I'd like to mention Ebony Whiteman and Jordan Giorgio, who are the co-founders of We Are Studios. Ebony is making sure that our technology is top-notch today, so thank you, Ebony. And Jordan is the other curator of Bio. It was really wonderful working with Jordan on this exhibition because we know these artists so well. We all spend so much time together in the studio. Our space is in Blacktown, also on Darug land, and it's a space of creative exchange, and it's really a peer-led environment as well as a mentored environment. So the way that the artists work with each other, nurture each other, is such a significant part of everyone's artistic process. And, you know, I guess the thing with curating an exhibition is you always want to find connections. You want to bring artists together who share a dialogue or nurture each other's practice in some kind of conceptual or material way. But what was really wonderful about working on this exhibition was that the artists developed their idea independently, but in the environment. And so there was this natural crossover and cross-pollination. And so the theme, Bio, the title, came out of the artists and their work and the connections that existed between them. So Jordan and I guess our role was really to highlight and nurture that and help bring their work to fruition. One other thing that we were encouraging our artists to think about when developing work for this show was to think big. All of our artists are highly skilled and talented and are on a really exciting trajectory and always taking new steps and practicing in new and exciting ways. But with this wonderful space, we wanted to allow them to spread out a little bit and create a work that had the strength of their voice, like it was on its way to being a solo show, or could even function as a solo show in itself. So Bio, the title comes from the Greek word bios, which means life. And we really acknowledged and recognized that life was such a big part in each of the artists' works. It's what bound it together, particularly talking about environments. And environment is a concept that was interpreted in a different way by each artist. Some people, it was about the natural landscape, their natural environment and their connection to it. But for other people, it was environment as you are the environment, or your community is the environment. So we'll hear a little bit more about the artists talking about that later. I'm going to just introduce the 5 artists who are in the show. Holly Lee Dixon, Georgina Evans, Jocelyn Geria, Adrian Proud, and Mia Tito Barrett. So we are going to first start by meeting up with Mia to hear about their work. So there you are. You're right there.
Is it okay to ask this?
Yeah. Shall I read out
Yeah.
your intro? Yeah. So Mia Tito Barrett, she, they, is a genderqueer, multidisciplinary emerging artist who's developing a practice in film, theatre, installation, and visual arts. Mia's practice currently explores the nature of their disabilities and their queer identity, playing with how different mediums can capture this experience. Mia, would you like to tell us about your work, introduce the title?
My work just over here is called Days Go By, and it's about, I found that the meaning of the piece has really evolved throughout the whole process. Like, it kind of started as being really focused on our environments and inaccessibility in the external world, but it's kind of really been pinpointed down to the comfort of your own personal space and how that's like a place to come back to and kind of rejuvenate yourself and look after yourself. I think that really happened because of the other artists in the show as well. Like, everybody has such unique takes on each other's works and how they were made. And this kind of what it is would not have happened without everybody in the group. So yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the work evolved from start to finish? What changed through that process?
Yeah, I think, like I said, the environments, but also it started out much grander. It started out it was going to be a lot more kind of planned out. The shots that I've chosen were not as planned as I thought they were originally going to be. They were, because there's a video work involved, they were going to be a lot more storyboarded and particular. But I found that when I was out in the world filming these random spots of me on public transport or walking down the street or at home, the thing that really like emerged from it was it was about the space. It was about like, now there's this really nice shot on that's just empty of my couch. And it's just this like nice warm spot. And that inspired the like orange tones of the actual installation piece. Or there's a shot of me on the tram going to work, and there was a bump in the tracks, and the camera just went, poof. And so there's this moment where it shifts, and suddenly like everything's on this strange angle. But also it meant that the way that the camera was taking in the light changed completely as well. And it turned into those really warm, comforting tones. And I think that's where that kind of idea of comfort really like took place and developed into what it is now. Yeah.
So engaging in those different spaces and filming in those different spaces, both in public spaces and your own personal environments. I mean, was there a real contrast with how you felt filming those and how you film those?
Absolutely. I think when you're filming yourself at home, there's no stakes. There's no, okay, if I don't get this right now, we're going to pass by what I want to be in the background, or where the train's going to move and then it's no longer going to be in the shot that I want it to be, or people are going to start walking down these stairs at any moment and I need to really quickly get this 30-second like little clip. So I think it's a lot more stressful filming out in the world, but it's also like a little bit thrilling and quite engaging because you're constantly on it and you're like, oh, okay, I've got to get this and I don't want to disturb the public. Thing. Yeah.
Within the installation, you've got a lot of personal items, and then some of them are handmade. Some of them are from home. How did you choose, or why did you develop those specific objects?
I think a couple of the objects have like their own little stories behind them. Like there's a shelf in the installation that's it's got a bunch of star cutouts. And originally that was just a shelf I saw on the Facebook Marketplace. And I was like, I want that. That's coming home with me. That's going in the installation. And then I was picking it up, talking to the person. It turns out that the woman's daughter had exhibited here at PARI. So it was just this kind of like really nice little like roundabout moment where this shelf from somebody else's childhood who had happened to exhibit here in the past is now being shown here in the installation. So that's a fun little piece, kind of that. But everything else is like there's a blanket on the couch, and that's a blanket that I have in my bed usually. That's like a personal part of my bed, or like a little chest of drawers that's been in my family for I don't know how long. I think it was my granddad's, but I'm not entirely sure. And then there's just little things like little nail polish files or jewelry and trinkets that I've picked up along the way. And then there's the sculptural aspects, which are mostly things that have shown up in the videos, like the water bottle or what else? I think there's a beer bottle there as well. Yes, there's the calm draft bottle, and that shows up in a corner in one of the shots somewhere. So the plate was something that I really wanted to try and mimic stuff we have at home and things that kind of capture, I guess, my personality as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love that the drawers ended up being installed upside down.
I know.
So
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, you're happy that the drawers have been installed upside
Yeah.
down?
Yeah, I think it captures the kind of like weirdness of my house as well. Yeah.
Mm. The sculptures are really intriguing and they have a warmth to them.
Yeah.
I really love them and the way that they sit within the space because they sometimes they're between, you know, not being recognisable, they're
Yeah.
part of the installation, part of your natural environment. But you've handmade them.
Yes.
Why did you make them and how did you make them in that way?
I think it kind of like leans into a bit of my multidisciplinary practice. But I in the past I've done a lot with recycling paper, and I thought that it was also a nice lean into Holly Lee's work with
Can I get one?
recycling. Yeah,
Which one's it?
absolutely. Do you bring the water bottle?
Yeah.
But they're fully handmade. They're made out of recycled paper clay. So I got a bunch of paper bags from like Woolworths and stuff. Cut them all up, pulped them in a food processor, and put some flour in, and they turn into this kind of like gluggy clay. And then you sand them down and paint them, and they turn into these little sculptures. But I think, sorry, what was the question? I forgot. Totally.
Like, why make them in this way?
Why make them in this way? I think it's a continuation. I've done a couple works in the past where I've made paper, and I find that the process it's really hands-on and it's a bit gross. And I kind of like that about it. I think it allows you to really express yourself, but also you're not in a lot of control over what happens to the piece. So you kind of have to accept that what you're making isn't going to turn out exactly how you want it. And then that lends this really kind of handmade personal kind of effect once it's put with a bunch of regular items. Yeah.
Can we swap items?
Yeah.
This is my favourite. Can
I
you talk
do
about
this one.
what the significance of this one?
So this is a diary that my sister gave me in 2022 that I didn't use until last year. And so it lasted me all year. It had all of my notes in it from everything I've worked on, from this project to other things that I've worked on, and what else? There's some fun stuff. There's some like films and things that I've worked on. There's work notes all in it. So it's just like a fun little tidbit that contains a lot of my life over 2024 and some of 2023 as well. Yeah.
I might take the camera into your space as
Yeah.
well so that people online can walk through it.
Yeah.
But I really, it's a really comforting space.
Yeah.
It's been one of the coolest spaces in the gallery. But yeah, I love the kind of cubby house almost environment that you created.
Yeah, I think that's something that I didn't fully realize how much of a comfort space it was until the very end, like the opening exhibition, where we had a safe space set up with like cushions and stuff, but people started using my exhibition as the kind of like safe rest, chill out zone. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what it's about. It's about this kind of comfort and community and chill area for people to recharge. Yeah. Yeah.
There are also these many elements, like you really have multiple disciplines that you are bringing together and bringing into harmony to create this space. You've got film work, performance, sculpture, installation, and a lot of beautiful hand-drawn artworks that are also... can you tell us about bringing together these disciplines within your work and what it means to you?
Yeah, I think I very subconsciously lean towards installation work because it is such an easy point to blend everything together. I think because I grew up going to theatre classes and performing and learning kind of all the background stuff behind that. How do you rig lights? How do you do sound design? How do you do all of that kind of stuff? Videography. And learning that stuff, that's where a lot of my kind of base knowledge is. But at the same time, I grew up around visual arts. I have been drawing for as long as I can remember. And a lot of those drawings that are in there are drawings from a few years ago that I just was like, you know, these used to be on my wall. So I'll stick them up on my wall here. And yeah, I think it's just installation is such an easy point to go, okay, I can have a video and a bunch of like random drawings and my furniture all in one spot. And it's still an artwork. It's still a big, like it's still one thing. You know, it's not a bunch of little things. It's become one thing in that process.
It gets to show so much more.
Exactly. I think it really allows me to express myself a bit.
And the threads and connections.
Yeah, everything like comes together. And especially since a lot of the stuff in there like wasn't originally going to be a part of it or was things that I did years before this was even a concept or an idea that allows all these things that you didn't realize would be important or a part of it to suddenly come forward and have a important weighty moment.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm, mm.
I think
Yeah.
we just pause for a second so the Auslan interpreters can switch over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe what we'll do is if you want to go and put these back in
Yeah.
place and I'll follow you,
You see.
and then I'll use the camera to look around the space.
You can actually stay here because Jordan's going.
Oh, John's doing it. Oh, great. Awesome. Well, if you want to, you can go in there and place those in. If you want.
Yeah, good night.
Yeah. And then if anyone has any questions for Mia, maybe just have a think about those. And when Mia comes back, we'll chat about that. So that's okay. Let's continue. Yeah. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions for Mia? Yeah.
What aspect of the multi-media was the person saying?
So I'm just going to repeat the question for the Auslan interpreters. What aspect of multimedia do you lean into mostly?
It changes because I'm very ADHD. So I'll really hyperfixate on something for a while. So at the moment, it's very much like the film side of things. I'm very like, I really want to make more like videos and just fun things. But I'd say the through line through it all is always drawing. It's always like sketching and that kind of thing, I think, because that's where it all starts for me. It all starts with like a little, it's in my sketchbook, whether it's like some scribbles on a storyboard or it can even be just writing and like a flow chart of how I want this to go or that kind of thing. So it always starts in the sketchbook. So I'd say probably drawing. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other thoughts or questions? And I sometimes it's hard to put something into a question, but even if there's something that you observe or that stands out to you about Mia's work.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Cheers. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry there. Holly Lee's next. And Holly Lee, where would you like to talk from?
Is it?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to come on over. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks to Jordan for doing some live feed videoing of the artwork. Holly Lee is a wiradjuri artist living on Doric land. Holly Lee experiments with various mediums and is increasingly drawn to sustainable materials, collaborative and community-based art for their experimental nature and the positive impacts of connection. Her works explore mental health, invisible chronic illness, sorry. My nerves always get the better of me. Neurodivergence and cultural identity. She views her exploration of her inner self, the world around her, and her place in it as a conduit for the universe coming to consciousness with art as the means of communicating that journey. Hi, Holly Lee.
Hi, everyone.
Would you like to first tell us the title of your work and, yeah, just give us some context. What is it about?
Yeah, so I guess the title is a made-up word, but it's called planarchy. And that is because it's a little bit anarchist, and it's a little bit sort of anti-capitalist, anti-consumerism, anti-hyper-individualism, and pro-community, pro-recycling and cooperation. And yeah, and I guess the plot is because I've a lot of this plastic yarn, which I've crocheted into motifs, which is, yeah, plastic bags cut up and turned into a weaving material, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk more about that process and that experimentation. Tell us, I know that you got some life lessons out of the development of this work. Yeah.
Yeah, so much of this process was play, experimentation and play and responding to the materials and just asking that question, what if? You know, what would happen if I did this? And I used to have this like utter fear of failure and perfectionism, and a lot of my stuff had to be like perfect and seen as brilliant. So I didn't feel like I could explore and play. And it hasn't been until I've met amazing communities like my riffraff artist friends and become part of We Art Studios and just found like such a safety net and support system and a place of belonging, and that's made it yeah, just a place where I am brave because I have that backup from my community.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about the communities that you work with and yeah, what the value of those relationships are?
Yeah, so I guess it's just like people that just understand, you know, like that I can show up, and they can show up at whatever capacity we're at, you know, and we're accepted as we are, we're enough as we are, which is amazing. Yeah, so that sort of belonging and those sort of people and artists just make it so much easier to like thrive, and yeah, it's been so nurturing, so nutritious.
What do you think it is about those communities that actually have allowed us to support that kind of supportive environment?
Well, I mean, it's because it's like, yeah, we are studios and it's disabled artists for disabled artists, and it's ARIs and artist run. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, people that just understand, like our needs and, like speak my language. I guess.
Do you think it's something we develop, or do you think it's inherent, like it just comes out naturally?
I think it's a bit of both, but I do think that it comes from a lot of the shared experience of, like, of discomfort and struggle, and how that, you know, that develops that sense of compassion for people, and yeah, like, yeah, those people that have experienced those hardships have empathy for others. That, yeah, and it just
Mm.
gets in.
Mm-hmm. I'll bring this up and like I want to connect it to the concept in your work. You're talking about mycelium, which might be a new word for people. What does mycelium mean to you?
Yeah. So mycelium network is like a system of fibers and roots that connect mushroom colonies and the ecosystems that they're a part of. And those systems, they share signals and share resources and break down waste products and just really collaborate and share that whole, like it's a full ecosystem and it's a cycle and it's pretty beautiful. So that's why I use that as inspiration.
I've heard you talk about the wisdom of
Yeah.
this mycelium network. What do you mean by that?
I think it's because nature has an innate wisdom that often humans separate themselves from. We think we're separate, we think we're outside of that ecosystem, but we're not. We're part of it, and in a way, like it's a metaphor for not only like environmental sides of things of using the recycled materials and recycling and making use of the resources, but also sharing resources and the community collaborating together to share like materials or ideas or build each other up. Yeah. So that's why I think that myceliums and fungi are fungi.
Yeah, there's a strength there. Yeah. So you've got some workshops coming up. You're going to be inviting people here. So there's one tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then one in a couple of weeks. You can find details about that on We Are Studios Instagram and also PARI. Why share this process with people?
I guess I just want to share that process and that feeling of community. And I guess if like you could see the artwork, there's the roots that are on the ground, which is PARI, the space that we get to exhibit this work in. There's little elements all on the side that include the different artists and reference them because of the community. There's like a substrate from like we are studios and we Create New South Wales as like the resources that have allowed us to come up with these ideas and thrive with them. And then there's my little mushroom on top, which is kind of how I'm connecting those ideas, resources, and sharing them with others. And then I guess the main feature of this is going to be the like sort of slime mold and spores that are suspended above, which I'm inviting the workshop participants to, once they've made theirs, to potentially contribute to that, I guess, growing, living installation, because, yeah, it's like I get to share the ideas and lift them up and let those ideas and my community thrive. This is what I can give back.
It's a lovely exchange and reciprocity that you have in your work. Yeah. Are there any pieces in this current work that were made by someone other than yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So already I did a little practice workshop.
Should we take a look?
Yeah, sure.
Do you mind standing close and I'll put these in?
So actually, Richard's here too. So we did a practice workshop at VR Studios, and we were making these beautiful little delicate tissue and PVA glue sculptures, and Richard just like absolutely nailed it. Look at how stunning these are. They're so delicate and ethereal. So yeah, there's those parts. which are fantastic. Thanks, Rebecca. And then actually there's a couple on the front here that some of it I've used the eco dyeing, like the leftover leaf matter from Georgie's eco dyeing, and that's down here. And there's a few little motifs like shells and things like that that I've crocheted that come from Adrian's beautiful thought garden and memory garden, which is just, yeah, we got to really interact with each other and like share ideas and feed off each other and grow out of that, which was super.
Cool, thank you. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions for Holly Lee?
Yeah. What was the process like? Because I know there was a lot going into making and figuring out each of these pieces.
So what was the process like?
What have I got? And what can I do with it? So yeah, I was just basically responding to whatever trash I could find, mostly because, you know, I'm poor. So, you know, it's free. But also like, I don't know, I just wanted to figure out how I could reuse things in new and interesting ways and just, yeah, keep experimenting. So, you know, like there's like balls really similar to your drink bottle sort of pulp thing, and so there's like little balls in there that I've made out of that and like a weird textural thing. I made paper out of recycled Christmas wrapping and dryer lint, which turned out really pretty. I used pool noodles and sliced them up and made stamp spores and saw what would happen with that, and they actually look really pretty. Melted milk bottles, like just whatever was there and whatever I could do to just see what happened.
Which is also very mycelium and very like taking what's there and transforming.
Yeah, yeah. You know, there's mushrooms out there that can eat plastic. And you know, plastic used to be oil, which used to be trees. So they're just like, what's tree wants? I eat. You know, and so I feel like, yeah, we can be that versatile, we can be that creative. We can come up with ways to solve problems and make beautiful things out of trash.
So we're about a third of our way through our talks, and we're going to speak to two more artists. And one artist is unable to be with us today. So to finish off, we're just going to have a little bit of a group chat about that artist's work to finish off. But I just want to give everyone a chance in the room to stretch your legs. Next, we're going to talk about Georgina's work, which is the hanging installation. Georgina, did you still want people to maybe go up to that and take a walk through?
Yes,
Yeah.
I sure do.
So maybe we'll just take a couple of minutes to stretch our legs and walk through Georgina's work. It's very warm here today as well. So if anyone just needs to get a glass of water as well, the kitchen is here and you can help yourself. Yeah, so let's just take a couple of minutes and I might take the camera around and review some of the works we just talked about. But next we'll talk to Georgina. Yeah. Hey Richard, good to see you. Yeah. How you going? You all right? Yeah.
Everything's fair.
Yeah. It's very warm today. Yeah, I'm gonna go sit in front of the air conditioner in a minute. Yeah. We're just moving these chairs. Is that all right? We're just moving these chairs so that they can be flow.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to maybe reconfigure it, Georgina, and Jocelyn will sit over there. Is that okay? Okay.
Which is the
Just out of this hallway, because so people like Jane can make their way through. Thank you. Yeah, so you can either go out the back, go down, have the light on, tell you where the key is, and it's at the back. She's got the light down shirt with the black toe tag. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
it was an accident. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. It traumatized you. I liked it too. Oh. Yeah, I was gonna say flying back. It doesn't matter where you go. My mom dreams. I was gonna say, except I'll be drunk. Look at that video. I kind of like cited you. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful. I know it's hard to start.
Yeah. I think my brain gets a little scatterbrained
Yeah,
during
totally.
it, but
And I'm coming out of like my robot into like relax.
yeah. Yeah.
We got there.
It was good. It was
Yeah. Great, mate. Thank you.
Yeah. You can sit on say my as a exhibition, like a certain picture, something like everyone had about that face, like think about it.
We start again. Okay, so let's get going again. Yeah. 214. Okay. Sure. We'd just like to go and sit over there where you want to do it. You want to just sit in front of it? Yeah, grab a chair.
Like, sometimes I say,
We're just gonna talk.
figure out what to say.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk, no worries. So yeah, all right. Yeah, they can, don't worry. So we're gonna move around and sit in a different direction. So do you want to sit in the chair that you feel comfortable in? So everyone, we're going to continue this just really the hair on. I turn them on. Just to see, yeah. Thanks, everyone. So we're going to continue, and we'll have a chat with two more artists that are also interconnections. This is Georgina Evans. Georgina Evans is a multimodal artist who weaves and explores textiles, paints, and draws in ink on canvas, rice paper, and eco-dyed fabric. She is influenced by the natural environment and her love of nature. A keen observer, Georgina expresses what she sees, but also what she feels, and physically and emotionally represents that through her creative work. Hi, Georgina.
Hello, everyone.
Can you tell us the title of your work and tell us sort of like what's it about?
The title of my work is called Flow. It's about, well, it's based on eco-dyeing with natural materials from nature and the environment. And yes, and it incorporates the river, which is connected to Parramatta and the Parramatta River, etc.
The river, it's a very strong natural element here. Yeah. Do you visit the river? Have you gone for a river walk?
Yes, I have visited Parramatta River. It's beautiful. I love it. And I've collected all materials from the Parramatta River that were on the ground and incorporated into my eco diary.
What kind of natural materials are you using in your eco diary?
I've used all kinds of natural materials, including eucalyptus leaves and all different plants that I've found along the Parramatta River, though it's actually a bit hard to specifically say which ones because a lot of them I don't know myself because I found them. But yes, it's incredible what you can find along the way. And yeah, it's a great experiment to see all that comes out with it.
I know you also looked a little bit further around the Parramatta area, Parramatta. What other kind of locations did you look for gleaning these natural materials?
Yes, I looked all around the Parramatta area, in local gardens around to try and incorporate all the different materials, etc.
And tell us, so we talked about eco dyeing already. We know you've collected all these natural materials. What is eco dyeing?
Eco dyeing is quite a long process, but the idea is that you get all the materials from the natural environment and it's all nature based. So yes, eucalyptus leaves or different branches or different flowers, etc. And the idea is that you collect all the materials and then you soak the fabric in a mordant. So for my pieces, I used iron sulfate, but there's a lot of different mordants that you can use. And then you soak the fabric and then you place all the natural materials like your leaves, your flowers, all those different materials onto the fabric and you place them where you be. And you really tightly roll up the fabric. And actually I laugh, it's kind of like rolling pastry because you have to get it really tight. And then you roll it like as tight as you can, and then you get some twine and you wrap the twine around it to make it really tight. And then after you've done all that, then you have to boil it or steam it in a pot for a few hours. The longer the better. So I did it for quite a few hours to get all the natural colours out of the plants and the eucalyptus leaves and all the different materials. And then once you boil it or steam it, then you place it in the fridge for a week so it can really set and all the colours can really set. And then and after you've put it in the fridge and you've boiled it and steamed it, then it's a surprise. You get to open it up and see what amazing patterns and colors come out, because you actually really don't know. It's always a surprise. You don't actually know what's going to come out each time.
It's really cool, and I love those two kind of curious stages of your dyeing process. When it's all wrapped up, it's steamed, and we put it in the fridge. Obviously, because if it's going to sit there, it has natural materials in it. We're putting it in the fridge so that it doesn't, well, become a holy leopard and, you know, grow mycelium and mold. And it's really funny because our studio is a shared space and our fridge is a fridge, but it's also used for art stuff. And if we did have it separate to food, but we have to tell everyone, like, just in case they open something and they find this bizarre wound up piece of fabric, in the fridge. But yeah, that exciting moment of the unveiling. Yeah, so you don't know what it's going to look like.
No, I have no idea what it's going to look like. I mean, I do have a vague idea, but yeah, there's no way of knowing what colors will come out, or the pattern, or the different like placements of all the plants. So yeah, it's really a surprise, which is great.
And then you used a really intuitive process to figure out how this was displayed. Now that it's up, is there anything new that you're noticing about this artwork?
I'd always known all along that I didn't want to hang my pieces next to each other, but I wanted to give a good gap in between, so people could walk around and explore and get their own feelings and emotions and experiences from my artwork. So I decided to place them on all different levels, hanging up, because I didn't want them all on the same level, because I wanted it all on different levels to experience the different amazing heights and all of that. So yeah, it would like add another dimension to my work.
Yeah, because it's lovely having seen previous installations, having them laid out almost like a vista or a landscape that you can view from afar, but this time it's a landscape that you can walk through.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Do you think that Georgie would like to show everyone and the people online her favourite
Yeah, sure.
with the camera?
Sure.
yeah, so I'll take the camera over if you want to leave.
I just thought of that idea.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I've also tried to incorporate the river, because Parramatta River is really important, and so that's what my artwork is based on, and the environment and the collaboration between nature and myself, and how we've both kind of collaborated together.
Because you have these really strong emotions. How would you describe those emotions that you have in relation to nature?
Very deep, earthy. I always feel very connected to nature, and it's very spiritual, and yeah, it's very calming, and I feel very warm, and the warmth from nature.
Do you want to show us your favourite?
Sure.
And then next we'll talk to Jocelyn. You might even like to come over.
I have two favorites, but they're all my favorites. I really love this one, how all the leaves and how it's very distinguished. You can see the patterns and it's really kind of, and all the colours, and yeah, it looks like the riverbed.
Come nice and close. Yeah, those leaves are very crisp and clear.
And my other favourite one is this one, because it reminds me, yes, of how the water ripples on the bottom of the river and on the top of the river, and it shows the flow of the river and the natural environment.
Thank you so much, Georgina.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. Are you happy to sit there, Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Cool.
I think at some point we'll probably
Go over and have a look.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
And then you
at some point maybe I thought this would
that sounds great. This is Jocelyn. Jocelyn Jerrier is an artist living on Darug land. Her work responds to autobiographical and lived experience using various mediums in paintings, drawings, and collage compositions. Through deep investigations into the relationships she has to place, persons, and nature, she aims to understand what these connections provide and signify for her. Jocelyn's focus is on understanding universal emotional structures through these autobiographical investigations. Her aim to communicate these structures visually, her aim is to communicate these structures visually in order to bypass the verbal. It's an effort to remain closer to the feeling. Thanks for joining us here today, Jocelyn.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you for the introduction and welcome to country earlier on.
Happy to acknowledge this special place, and I know it's such a big part of your work too.
Yeah, very
Can
much so.
you tell us the title of the work
Yeah.
and give us tell us what is it about?
Yeah, sure. So there's two parts to the works that I'm exhibiting here. One of them is a series of landscape sketches, and that's reverence for Parramatta. And there's a painting, a circular composition of birds, and that one's called My Companions Who Take Care of Me. So this whole series started off with quite a very small idea. I was walking from Parramatta Aquatic Centre into Parramatta Park, looked at some eucalyptus trees, and then just this thing struck me of, I have to paint Parramatta Park. I didn't understand why or how I was going to execute it or anything like that, but I let the idea sit there. I thought if it struck me so strongly, there's obviously something there. And then the opportunities to exhibit here at PARI came up, and then another thing just clicked to add more complexity to the ideas. Okay, I'm going to share the deep relationship that I have to Parramatta. I've lived there for over a decade, and it's evolved from a place where I just sort of walk through to get, to various areas, to a place to, exercise, to then a place where I deeply connected to the land in and of itself. And what I wanted to try to communicate through feeling in these artworks is what Parramatta provides for me, which is a deep sense of comfort, safety, and contentment. I go there and I feel as though I'm home. It's like my second home. As well as the beauty that we can find there in and of itself, irrespective of the parks that are there for, benches to have, barbecues, playgrounds, all these sorts of things. I think it can be easily missed when places that we have that are very domesticated, it can be quite difficult to touch and come into contact with these areas of nature in and of themselves. And so that's why I purposely chose to not paint any buildings or any man-made structures in the landscape paintings, to then people to see, oh, one of these wonderful places. Oh, it's just Parramatta Park, it's just around the corner. So that was a wonderful process of going from a simple into a complex ideas. And I just let the idea throughout the whole entire process guide me as to what I needed to do. And then with regards to the creative process, we'll sort of show you a bit later, the landscape sketches are all done in a square format, and then the bird painting in a circular format. The reason for that was square compositions give a sense of balance and calm and stability. So I really wanted to communicate that through the format, and the circular painting to imbue a sense of unity with all the sort of birds sort of coming together there. With the landscape paintings, they were painted on plein air, which means on location and from life. I painted them at different times of the day and at all different spots through the park. The reason for this was I wanted to have quite a deep connection to the land as I was painting it, and certain elements such as lighting and colors in the landscape are lost in photography. So that's why it was a need to do that. I never had any plan as to what locations I was going to go with any given day to paint. Essentially, I let the land guide me. I would bring up all of my supplies, walk in and just walk in any direction, and a spot just for whatever reason would stand out to me. So that was quite a beautiful experience. And as
Can you tell us a little bit? I know that you talked about plein air painting and letting the place guide you. I love that. It's you're letting it speak to you. But I know you had some quite visceral and like physical experiences. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there'll be two parts to this leading. So my very first day that I went to paint, I went to quite a far apart from where I entered, and found a beautiful. So I was like, okay, here's the one. Start unpacking all my supplies, get a little collapsible stool. I sit down on it, it breaks. Okay, and then I go, that's fine. I can sit on the ground, and then I'm ready to paint, and I forget my brushes. So it's like, in my stubbornness, I thought, I'm going to make this work. It doesn't matter. I put all this work into it. And fortunately, I had some palette knives with me. And so I ended up using that to create an entire painting. And that was a novel method to create paintings. I'd never done that before. And that helped to that
Just get you to pause just for a second because the Auslan interpreter is going to switch over. And we're good to go. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, so that actually, I took that experience and then painted a number of the other sketches with the palette knife because I realized there's certain qualities that you can get pictorially that you can't get with a paintbrush. So from that experience sitting on the ground, I immediately thought, I'm going to have to paint all the other artworks on the ground because there was this distinct feeling of being more connected to land and then having that more direct conversation with the land of the spots that I was painting. So as you can imagine, sitting on the ground for about 18 different paintings were about different experiences. So more often than not, I had ants crawling up my legs, flies coming up over my face, because these are all done, middle of summer. I'm quite inflexible, so I had to keep repositioning my legs all the time, and my feet would go numb. So I really wanted to share this because I think there's this, romanticized idea of artists when they do paint outside, being really proud and standing up there and looking wonderful and neat and intact. And instead, I think I was the embodiment of a painter in like Australian summer. So, yeah, that was quite wonderful.
I love hearing you talk about the ants as well and the flies, all coming and talking to you as part of this interaction. And of course, there are these other really significant animals in your paintings, the birds. Should we go over and have a look?
Yeah, sure.
Can you talk about the significance of birds?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
And we need to wrap up that was there for 210.
Okay, 210? Sure. Yeah.
All right, so this painting, this is my companions who take care of me. This was based off a particular area in Parramatta. It's a small little creek. I've visited there at least 50 times or more. And the reason for this is that you get many different species of birds coming along through there. I love birds. There's something about observing them, all the unique characters and personalities. So watching them interact there, it's always brought me so much joy. The other reason for depicting this specific area has an added layer of significance in that I have several budgerigars that I've buried there, and those are a purposeful choice to think now they're going to have, nice friends to continue on with them. And it's also a place that I've visited a number of times when I've been unwell with my bipolar disorder. For many reasons, it just ends up being a place that I can come to. So with the composition here, it's the most complex that I've done to date. So it was it was interesting, the difference between the entire artistic freedom with the landscapes versus this one being, you know, a lot more designing. But it was wonderful with that contrast. I took a lot of inspiration from an 18th century Italian painter called Tiepolo. He painted frescoes and as such, and I've always admired his elaborate compositions and the way that he used colors. And so I studied his work, and that sort of helped me try to find a bit more movement in this, so it didn't feel too static, despite it being a circle composition, and that can feel quite stable. So yeah, it was just a wonderful experience with this one.
May, may,
Yeah, I
hmm?
think I'll just finalize. Yeah.
May I ask you a question as well about time? I mean, for me, when I remember you showing us these, I really connected to a certain time of day. Is there a kind of narrative arc about how you've placed the works in relation to the flow of the day?
It was initially, but then we sort of varied it out. I just basically went communicating between each artwork, which one talked to each other mostly. But I think it's more evident in sort of areas sort of through here, going from like sunset to sort of midday where it's entirely flat. And then we're going more into the evening and to the night as well. And all the areas have different times of the day divisions of the scenes again.
Yeah.
Just
Do you have any other points that you want to talk about? Because we might make sure that we
one
questions.
to this was quite a powerful moving one for me. At the opening exhibition, I had several people approach me and ask me questions about my artworks, and the constant words that I heard were, these are making me feel like a lot of emotions. I'm really connecting to them on that level. And I had one particular person say, I look at these and I feel like I'm at home. So in the large body of my practice in wanting to explore, you know, emotional structures from the personal into the universal, you know, yeah, it felt quite wonderful for me to ask. So yeah, thank you everyone for you know paying listen, I guess, to my artworks.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any thoughts or questions for Jocelyn?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is in creating a work with a talent, what inspired you to choose like we see in the center, like it has two different forms and we expect more very vibrant, more possible.
Yeah, so with that circular format with the painting, that basically was something that I learned from Tiepolo. So he would use more saturated colors sort of like in the foreground, and as he went into space he would make things a bit less vibrant, less saturated, and so yeah, that was sort of the reason for that difference in there. And so this one, the colors aren't 100% true to life. It was more about the feeling that I wanted to evoke in there. Yeah.
Maybe we can stick over here. Any last questions? Yes.
You mentioned how you had chosen where those birds were for specific purpose. How did you choose the other locations that you wanted to paint? Were you just drawn to them, or were they special places to you?
They essentially walked to the park and thought that looks great. For either it was the light that was like going onto that area, or a particular tree that I liked, that I liked its shape and the way that the gesture of it. So yeah, it's just a number of things. Yeah. Thanks.
Was the technique a little bit different to what you normally do in your paintings? Because I noticed that some of them are even slightly abstracted, you know, looking at, there's one in the corner there that's like foggy and like so stunning, and some that are so textural. So yeah, is that different to what?
Oh, very. This was actually some wonderful dialogue that Liam and I had as we were sort of doing the works, Liam said, oh, you know, let's, because there's an exploration in trying to find the locations, let's explore in your mark making and painterly approaches. And I think because I feel so comfortable in the land and it allowed me to do it, I don't think I would have been able to do it as freely and as like sort of confidently as I did if it wasn't for the land. So yeah,
At this point, I just need to thank Jocelyn very much for. We'll continue chatting just for a few more minutes, but our alternate interpreters have to head off. And so I'd just like to thank Belle and Claudia for interpreting for us today. This is Applause in Auslan. And thank you. Thank you. We'll continue, and at this point of acknowledgement, I'd also like to acknowledge Richard J. Bell, who is here, who is also where there's a Richard is the writer for the catalogue that's in the brick sheet. And Richard, like all the other artists, knows, they all know each other so well. So having Richard speak and write about the artist's work, the curation and everything and bringing it together was a really special and personal piece. So that's also available on PARI's website. Finally, we're going to go talk about Adrian Proud's work. Adrian couldn't be here today, so going on the idea. Oh, and we're going to say thank you. Thank you, Adrian, very much. Such a significant and integral part of our studio environment. Adrian is an artist, but also our studio support at We Are Studios, and is an incredible artist. So we'll go and take a look at her work. Perfect. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So for the artist in bio, we're just going to have
Finishing the stream, just also.
yeah.
I'm gonna take this back.
Yeah, so we can come bring the camera back.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. So I am a person, I know everyone, I know all the artists, I know all the work in and out. But when it comes to details, in moments like this, nothing. So I've got to read everything, even though, even people's names, even titles. So my apologies. This work is called Days Go By. Sorry, no, that's flustered. It's a very hot day. And thank you all for your resilience in this warmth today. How are you going, Jane? You all right? Good. Memory Garden. Sorry, Adrian. And this work was developed over 2024 and 2025. It's pen and ink drawing on paper, and the dimensions are variable. So I'll take a little look. I'd like to hear from the artists in the show about your favourite parts of this artwork.
I hands down that shell garden that you just showed. You know, because I know that Adrian's sort of thought process was kind of dealing with like negative memories and grief, but then also noticing that those positive memories and positive experiences are there, but they need to be nurtured and held and treasured so that they can take up more space in our life experience. And yeah, so I really loved that piece because it is so nurturing and it's so true, and that's how we heal.
So you've mentioned memory. Is there another theme or a part of the work, Mia? Would you like to come up and show us?
I think it's all of the works, honestly. Something about Adrian's work in general and the way that she uses lines, it just invites you in to really feel whatever it is that Adrian's expressing and trying to tell you. And I think it allows you to, as Holly Lee said, find and nurture those kind of memories within yourself and within the works, if that kind of makes sense, and find that kind of comfort and connection.
There's so much storytelling in them.
Yeah.
There's so much detail that it just takes you on.
Yeah, they're the kind of work. They're the kind of works that you can sit and stare at for hours and find new stuff.
I like the idea of it being a kaleidoscope of different movements and different sizes of pen.
Yeah.
And also the leaving of space and the directionality of it. And I could have, and I did, I stood there and looked at it for hours.
I actually like the artwork with the chains, and I actually think because it's important to recognize it and hold the duality of moving sort of into more wonderful positive directions, but we still have those aspects of us which were of pain, and to know that they can be there, but they're not going to be harmful in the way that they used to be. So I think that shows the complexity more of memories. So I thought that was a good.
That's something where Adrian is so good at, is that duality and that contrast. And yeah, it is that whole balance between the good and the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the whole gamut of experience.
Yeah, it's holding every kind of experience, no matter what that experience was, in equal value. I think that's really beautiful.
That's so I think that's our experience of our internal environment. So,
I find the sunflower is a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Especially for more neurotypical people. It's something that you could probably latch onto a little bit easier outside of an artist space as well.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about Adrian's work or thoughts that they've recognized today?
Yes, I recommend that you have this kind of folktale kind of storyline and have that really big cast. There's Jack and the Joker. So I would like to know more what where's inspiration is like. Why does she choose more like a jovial kind of a way of telling storytelling?
I think Holly Lee really mentioned, that duality of the good and the bad, challenging memories, beautiful memories. And I think Adrian's really thinking about how we store them emotionally in a memory, but also how we store them in our body, how memory is a physical thing as well as a soulful or an intellectual thing.
something like different chapters or different files, different pages in a book, the same way as in our minds. And like so much influence from like tattoo and illustration and
This is also the first of Adrian's work that I've seen with this much color, I think, and exploration.
yeah.
Adrian's always got an amazing balance of kind of color and weight and composition. But I think there's a new exploration with color in this work that really makes it all harmonize.
Hmm. Going back to the body, I know Adrian wanted to mention how chronic illness is impacting the outcome of the final work and the acceptance of that fact. And I like how that links to different lived experience narratives in in people's work in this exhibition, and how it's about acceptance, you know, whether it's creative process or failure, success.
I love how Adrian's work can, be really small and intimate and, still be super impactful, but it's something that's achievable at a time when maybe we don't have as much capacity. And then she can do larger ones, but also put so many of them together to make it into this bigger scale thing when she does have more capacity and more, it's really it shows her experiences. That's what makes it like.
Mm.
I think it's strength. There's a lot of strength in the vulnerability that Adrian shows.
Mm. I know Adrian's also talked about changing neural pathways through art to improve internal experience. And I feel like we've heard other artists talk about that today, the significance of a creative practice and how it exists and benefits our life and affects us physically, affects us emotionally, mentally. But yeah, neural pathways in particular for Adrian's work. And I know that there are details and styles, patterns that are coded into this work that hint at that action, that connection, that process and the outcome and the impact. It's really amazing to think about how art is not just this beautiful thing that we're viewing, but it actually has an effect and an impact. We have a relationship with it. We give to it and it gives back to us.
I think that's why she probably called it like the garden that she tends to, because it is something that you constantly need to tend to, like a garden, in order to upkeep. And I love that it just circles back around and it just feeds back into itself of, yeah, okay, this happened. I'm a different person now, but I can always choose to do something about that.
Yeah.
And it's just a very positive outlook on a very intrinsically difficult subject to talk about. And just through artwork, it's just come through beautifully.
I actually had a conversation yesterday about, that, it's really frustrating living with like disabilities and chronic illness and all that sort of stuff. And, there's that side of it and it's exhausting, but, without those experiences, I wouldn't have found this beautiful community that we're part of. And so that's the silver lining out of it. Plus the experience of that adversity, it's just made me more resilient and just more compassionate. And
Do you think it's made you more open to experiences?
Yeah.
Sorry.
and just taking all of the experiences, whether they're painful or discomforting or comfortable or whatever, that it's all just part of life and they're all valuable and they're all just make us who we are. And just collecting that information and the good with the bad.
Thanks, everyone. What a really, really beautiful experience sharing all this together. Thank you so much. Another little round of applause for our artists. Thank you. Thank you for all being here today. Thank you so much.
Okay, during the awkward silence.